Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Very well. Sorry, last week I was busy with some training. So then we can start. We can start. I hope you got these notes. You can see my screen. Guys,
Yes,
can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, so of course, C++, as I always tell you, is an extension of C. And engineers came with it, with this kind of programming language, so that because engineers, of course, have the hardware in mind, so they want to design fast programs, and of course, C and C++ are good at it. And of course, I have said C is an extension of C, and C++ is object-oriented, as we will see a little bit later. And of course, it's portable. It can run on any processor as long as there is the compiler for that processor. So what we write normally is the source code. And remember, we have installed the compilers in our machines. When we install a code blocks IDE, IDE is the integrated development environment. It comes with the compiler, the linker, and some libraries. So the IDE that you have installed as the compiler, the linker, and some other libraries. So what you right have said is the source code. When you compile, you get a file called an object file. Because it cannot run on its own, it needs some files. So it's linked with some files, and then we form an executable, which normally you run on your machine. So, and of course, the preprocessor directive, you remember, which includes some header files to your machine prior to compilation. So that's the whole process of kindly you mute those ones who are joining. Those who are joining, kindly mute. Those who are joining, kindly mute. Okay, so we continue. And of course, the first C program is the hello world. This ones we have done before. So the header file is there. And of course, it does a simple thing of just printing hello world to your screen. So I just said I follow the MIT. MIT is a very good university in terms of engineering. So we'll follow this simple approach so that, remember, most of you are not very conversant with programming. So I follow this approach so that you will understand. And here there are tokens, of course, minimal program chunks that have a meaning to the compiler. Keywords like integer, double, for, auto, float, and the like. Those are keywords. Words, of course, with some special meaning to the compiler. And of course, identifiers, X, Y, my function, my flag, and things like that. And normally you create some identifiers, names of things that are not built into the language. You name functions, you name variables, and things like that. Literals, of course, a basic constant values, whose values is specified directly in the source code. For example, 24.3. The way you define a constant, define x 10 and things like that. Of course, operators, mathematical operators, addition, subtraction, the AND operator, the NOR, the less. And of course, you know these punctuations. There is these ones, the ones that are highlighted. These ones demarcate the body of a function, and this one enclose the parameters of a function. Of course, white spaces, they are ignored. They are ignored when you compile, so they don't have any meaning. And of course, when you're doing comments, you can do backslashes, indicating that anything that follows the 2 backslashes is a comment. And sometimes you can put a / asterisk and then enclose the comments if it's a block of comment. So block of comment, you enclose with the somebody is not muted, and I've said you mute and is disturbing me. Ndubi, mute, kindly mute your mics. Mute your mics, all of you. Mute your mics, Moses. Moses, mute. Mute your mics, you are disturbing me. So that's how you do comments. And of course, lines that begin with hash indicate that those are preprocessor directives. Hash include maybe IOStream, hash include CMAT, and other functions, and other header files, I mean, which can be used in your program. And of course, int main is the entry point of our C program, and it should be only 1 in number. That one we have said. And I said these kind of brackets, the ones that I've highlighted, those ones are used to enclose the parameters you send to that function. We will see when we do our own functions. And of course, the braces, these ones, of course, demarcate, or the curly braces demarcate the body of the function. The curly braces represent grouping of multiple commands, of course, what the function does. Of course, see out, you know, this is for putting some piece of text to the screen. And of course, any language has a dictionary. And in our case, we're using some dictionary by the name namespace, where we define, where the identifiers are defined, and of course, their meaning is stored. In C++, identifiers can be defined within a context or sort of some directory called namespace. When we want to access an identifier defined in the namespace, of course, we tell the compiler. But you can be doing this. I've seen if you don't use a namespace, if you don't use or include this line namespace at the top of your program, so every time you want to use some operator, you use this. You use this, but a cleaner way always include namespace at the top, and then you use the operators. And of course, we know strings is a group of characters, hello, world, and things like that. And of course, there are escape sequences. For example, this is new line. This one indicates new line. A indicate \A indicates system bell. This means backspace and then forward form, new line, carriage return tab. I know you have used some of this before. And of course, return 0, we know is the way our program, or is the only way our program communicates back with the operating system. So it indicates that our program has finished executing well, and the operating system can take its session back. You remember in our first semester, we talked about the operating system and the way it does allocate time slots to functions, and once they are done, of course, they return sessions, and the only way they communicate with the operating system that they are done is by sending return 0. Statement, of course, ends with a semicolon in C++, and of course in many other programming languages. Kindly, when you join mute, when you join, you mute. When you join, mute, please, so that we get to understand one another. You don't distract me. Of course, there are piecewise manipulations. We don't focus much on these unless you are doing hardware programming, but logic we do. And mathematical operations, we normally use them so much. Of course, there are various data types. I'm just doing a recap. Remember, I've done this. So the character, for example, we said we use how many bytes to store a character? Did we say 4? Class, how many characters did we say we use to store a character? Adrian Betts, how many characters did we say we used to store a character? It's even there, it's 1 byte. Integers 4 bytes, Boolean 1 byte, double 8 bytes. And of course, when we talk of signed, so remember we have talked of positive and negative numbers when we were doing number systems. So assigned, if they're assigned, of course, they start from, if they're characters, -128 to 127. If they're assigned, is 0 to 255. Why 255? If you do, of course, 2, is it 2 to the power 8? If you do 2 to the power 8, you will get 256. But when your number, you start from 0, so 255. Because 1 byte is 8 bits, so you can store, or you can, yes, you can store 2 to the power. Remember, we are in binary. You can store 2 to the power 2 to the power 8, which will be 256, but numbering is from 0, so from 0 to 255. Integers, you use 4 bytes, so you can store large numbers. The extent is, if you do 2 to the power 8 times 4, because there are 4 bytes, you will get 42, 94, 96, 72, 96. So that is 2 raised to power 4 times 8. Remember, there are 4 bytes. So it will be that. And of course, Boolean is 1 byte, 0 or 1. Double, those are 8 bytes. So 2 to power 8 times 8, or 2 to power 64. You will see it will be a 15 digit. Yeah, it will be a 15 digit. So, of course, there are variables. For example, int x. X is a variable of type int. You can do float A or float B, which of course are of type float, variables of type float. This is a variable declaration, line 5. And of course, this is assignment now, or we are doing initializing. We are assigning a value to the variable that we have declared. And of course, to input something, we use cin. You have declared a variable and you are reading from the keyboard, cin, and then cout is, of course, you are pushing what you have stored in x divided by 3 to the cout, and of course, you push another value, which is x times 2. Yeah, so what else? Of course, there are 2 kinds of errors, and this is a common question in programming. There is compilation errors and runtime errors. Compilation errors, when you compile, whatever you see in red or the compiler complains about is what we call compilation errors. And they normally result when you violate the syntax. For example, here you miss to put this semicolon at the end of, you just write int x without a semicolon, or you just write cin these signs x without the semicolon, or you just say return without a 0. So those ones the compiler will complain. They're called compilation errors. So by violating, so if you know the syntax of C+ programming, of course, this violation of errors will be minimal. And you come to become good in this when you do so many examples. When you do so many examples, you will minimize your compilation errors. But if you sit and, of course, sit there, of course, you will not be able to know. So the best way to reduce your compilation errors and even runtime errors is doing as many examples as possible. There are others called, of course, runtime errors, and these ones you cannot spot them when you run the program. Is what you are giving garbage, you are giving some garbage, and maybe you are getting some garbage. Maybe what you expected to get from some compilation is not what the computer is reporting. So those are runtime errors, and of course, take some time to go look critically at the flow of your program, and then you identify. So that is it for this short introduction. I don't know, guys, if you have any question. Any question?
Yes.
Yes.
What is the difference between signed and unsigned character?
Signed and?
Unsigned.
Signed, of course. When you have, 5 can be a character and can be an integer, is it? The number 5, is it?
Yeah.
So you can have negative 5 and you can have positive 5. But it's stored as what? Stored as character. It depends on how you store them. On how you store them. Am I clear?
Yes.
So it depends on how you store the number 5. It can be stored, for example, as an integer or a character. But you can still find more on that. You can still find more. Any other question, class? Any other question? Any other question, class? So anything below 0, of course, is negative, and anything above 0 is positive. Any other question, class? I see today very many students. Yes, question?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Maybe you can highlight the most examinable part of the lecture.
Examinable. What are you
Yes.
asking?
Maybe you have talked of maybe the variables, the comparison processes, what we need to mark most.
Just understand. You see, we are not learning C++ to pass exams. We are learning C++ to become competent engineers. And the exam will take the same route. I might not ask the process of compilation, but I might ask it in a different way. So it's better to understand. What I want you to do is understand. Don't cram. Understand. So everything, yes, there's nothing complicated here. That's why I said I follow the MIT way, where you have very basic flow of, or the way they do lectures, so that you understand. I want you to understand what is C++, and that's why I don't want to pump so many notes. I just want simple notes, but understandable. You get it? You get it? There's somebody who was asking.
Yes.
Yeah, so I want you to understand. They're very simple notes, which you can even go and even read more, and you can print. What I recommend, you print these notes, and then you make your own notes at the back, and you file them, of course, and you file them. So very good. There is some assignment that I have. Could you kindly explain on how we go about calculating the range? Very good. For example, we are here. We have said you use 1 byte to store a character. Okay? Who is this person? Nicholas. Nicholas, I'm explaining this. So you use 1 byte, and a byte, remember we are using hardware, and hardware store numbers using zeros and ones. So 1 byte is 8 bits, okay? And because we are in base 2, we are using binary, we can store these numbers using 1 byte. 2 raised to power 8. 8 is the 8 bits of 1 byte. 2 raised to power 8, I'm talking about the characters. 2 raised to power 8, you get 256. Okay, you get 256. But when numbering, we said we start from 0. There are 256 in number, but their values is from 0 to 255 for unsigned. If they are signed, of course, is the way the language was written. For signed, of course, you have a 0. So half of the numbers will be negative and half will be positive. Nicholas?
Yes.
Nicholas? Nicholas?
Yes, yes.
You have gotten it?
Yeah, I have. Thank you.
Okay. Any other question, class? So maybe when they finish exams, we can still revert back to our physical learning, because I think it's better off than online. But for the meantime, we can go on doing this. So I want to stop sharing and show you some assignment I want you to tackle. It's a very simple assignment which you can tackle. So guys, can you see my screen? Guys, can you see my screen?
Yes.
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 Okay, so what I want you to do is write a program that spins or that rotates the word hello. So you can see where the hello world is. This is at when it's at 0 degrees. It's not rotated. It is its original position. And then you rotate it at 45 degrees. So look at it that way. And then you rotate it 90. Then you rotate it 135. Then you rotate it 180, 360, like that. And of course, maybe back. So guys, I want you to write a program. Maybe you can have coordinates. You see there are boxes there. I will send you this. You can create your own coordinates. And I want you to try and rotate this word in this format, starting at when it's at 0, it's rotated. Is it negative 45? Negative 45, negative 90, negative 135, then 180, then that is maybe positive 90 or 360. Is it 360 or 270? This is 270 because 360 goes back to the original position. So I'm sending this one to Uber. So when Uber, are you in?
I'm here, sir.
Yeah, so I'm sending this so that you can share with your class members so that they can tackle the any question on this. Is a simple problem. Any question? Any question? So be prepared. We'll be doing so many assignments because that's the only way you will be able to be good at it. That's the only way you will be good at it. So what else can I say? Guys, do you have any question? Any question? So if you don't have any question, I will stop at that and share this. We are meeting tomorrow. Up at what time? Uba?
So there are two. There's at 11 and at 2. The two
So
different
we will
groups.
have only one.
We'll have one.
We will have one because it's online. So we'll have one class. So we'll only have one class tomorrow. So let me share this. So guys, we can stop at that. You do the assignment and you can put pauses between, the rotations. You can put pauses between the rotations so that I can be able to see how it's rotating. You can delay. Once you do, let's say a rotation of 45, let me have delays between the rotation so that I can be able to see how it's rotating. And this one starts, this will be your first cut. I don't offer cuts in programming, so this will be your first cut. So the earlier the better. So when can I get it tomorrow? Uba? Uba?
No, sir. Kindly
give us more time.
an extra day.
But is this something simple?
I
It is, but
Okay, so
we
you
need some
submit
time to
when?
research.
When do you submit? 2 days time? Today is
Friday.
Tuesday?
Maybe Friday.
Apana. So Thursday. Thursday is okay? Is Thursday okay, class?
no.
Just say. Don't fear, just share your sentiments.
Friday instead.
Friday. Is it not far from one?
It isn't. No.
Somebody is asking, do we submit? Of course, we are not. We are learning. So we learn by doing and submitting. So you submit on a Friday then. That's okay?
Yes.
But today is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's a long time. But then let me see a good work in this. So let me then share. Let me stop sharing. Then I will email. Uba.
Yes, sir.
I'm emailing you the assignment. I'm calling it cut 1. So we will not have any cut. So we will be having. So those who are joining late, tell them they will be missing out. So they should be there by 10. Don't copy, please, because there is some software that I run. So if you find you are getting 0 in your exams, don't blame me. Do your own work because I checked the similarity. So Uber, check on your. So guys, all the best. So do it and submit. That will be your first cut, and we'll be doing even 100 cuts because I do an average. So all the best. Let us meet tomorrow. Somebody, sir, could you mind using a Kennedy? Kivuva. Yes, I shared with Uber and she said this is a good platform to
Yes,
use,
sir.
so I don't know. Uber. Uber,
Yes, sir.
I thought this is the best platform for all of you.
Sir, it's okay. I don't know what's wrong with it. Personally, it's okay. And the one,
Guys, we continue using this platform.
Yes.
Yeah, so teach those ones like Kivuva, Kennedy, they should learn how to use it. I'm sure you are trained on it. So allow me leave and you can share a little bit. But I don't know if it's going to.